This video has been funded in part by the Guild via Patreon. Check out the links in the description or at the end of this video for more details.
Game provided by NIS America, dude.
Hello everybody, my name is Gildart, and welcome back to another pros versus cons mini review. There are a lot of niche games that I missed out on as a kid that would definitely be up my alley nowadays. These games are lost to time, and no amount of adult money will ever get me a chance to play those games. Luckily enough, today's game isn't one of those thanks to Prinny Presents NIS Classics Volume 1, which contains Soul Nomad and the World Eaters, and the topic of this video, Phantom Brave, the Hermuda Triangle. Phantom Brave jumped on my radar pretty quickly after falling in love with NIS games. I remember seeing it in a local game shop with a very high price tag back when I was younger, which is the only reason I never picked it up for PS2. It's a lot more affordable now on places like eBay, but there's something about finding a game in the wild that really gets the blood pumping. Anyways, Phantom Brave was originally released on the PS2 in 2004, then on Wii in 2009 with some additional content, then on PSP in 2011 with even more content. I honestly have no excuse why I'm only getting around to this game now. The version we get in the NIS Classics Volume 1 is what the PSP got. Not only do we have all of the content we can have for Phantom Brave, but we also get it in HD. So, how is Phantom Brave? Well, before we get into all of that, don't forget to give this video a like, comment with your thoughts below, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, no more stalling, it's time to jump into this game, and of course, beware of spoilers ahead. Alright, ready, set, pros. So let's start with how this game looks, because it's not just the fact that the sprite work is the same high quality design that you'd expect from any NIS game. They're so expressive and well animated. There are no animated cutscenes, and it's not needed. These sprites do everything that you need. It's also not the fact that the backgrounds and the character portraits are hand drawn to absolute perfection. Like seriously, there were moments where I just had to sit staring at the screen because of how good it looked. The big reason I want to talk about this game's looks is because there's something in this remaster that's not in most. You have so many different UI and graphical options so you can play the version of Phantom Brave that you actually want. You can choose between 16:9 or 4:3 aspect ratio. You can also choose between the old and new font, even going down to the anti-aliasing on the text. Can you tell if this is still the remaster and not the original on PS2? What's also great is how nice it is to hear English voices. I know this is from a time when English voiceovers were pretty well required when localizing Japanese games, but it's still great to hear. NIS could have taken the cheap route and just gave us the text translation, but they didn't. I also know they're a trusted source of high quality localization, and going back to a game from 17 years ago, you can still hear the quality of the localization. The English voice cast does wonders to bring these characters to life. The main two, Ash and Marona, are done so well. The story is told through these characters, and you really feel every emotion that they do. The basis of this story is that Ash worked with Marona's parents as chromas, who are kind of like bounty hunters. They all end up dying, but with his last bit of power, Marona's father was able to bring Ash back to life as a phantom. Marona's parents' last wish was for Ash to watch over Marona, who has the power to see and talk to phantoms. This power has given her the bad reputation as the phantom possessed. Many of the people you'll run into treat her like a plague on this world, but she has such a positive attitude that one day things will change. Marona is so kind and caring. Watching her trying to reach out and connect to people only to have her hand slapped away is heart-wrenching. Within the first few minutes of experiencing the story, I was absolutely hooked. The other part of the game that will hook you is the gameplay. If you're familiar with Disgaea, you might feel somewhat at home. A lot of the options when in battle are the exact same, but the key difference is that the characters don't move on a grid. Instead, you can move freely within a specified range. This helps to make it a little bit more strategic with where you're placing your characters. In every stage, you start off with only Marona. She not only has the power to see phantoms, but to confine them to various objects on the map, like trees, rocks, and so on. This is how you summon your characters. But watch out, each item that can be confined has buffs and debuffs that it will give to the phantoms you choose. So you might want to confine a warrior type phantom to a rock because it gives you a boost of attack at the cost of intelligence and speed, while a flower would be good for mages as it does the opposite. Each phantom also has a specific number of turns they can complete before reverting back into a phantom. So you might want to avoid summoning everyone willy-nilly and end up only having Morona left to fight with, as she is very weak. You are also limited in how many you can summon, not only how many phantoms, but also how many weapons too. When you create or recruit a phantom, they don't have any weapons equipped. You can either equip them with something purchased from the store before battle, or you can pick up some items around the map and use those as well. There is a lot to consider even before you get into the actual combat mechanics themselves. Now, what I said before is where the mastering comes in. When it comes to the actual combat, this should be pretty easy to comprehend. Depending on what attack you're using, you may have a different range or field of effect. Using the pseudo free-roaming style of combat, you can better set up some attacks when compared to other tactics style games like Disgaea. You can only attack or throw the item you have equipped or held once per turn, but if you haven't used up all of your movement, you can still reposition your characters after attacking. The moves you have at your disposal will also change based on your equipment, so play around with the different weapons on different characters until you find the right mix you're looking for. But in the meantime, that's all the pros I have so far. Now it's time for the wrath of the cons! Now, I know I praised the way this game looks right off the bat, but there's something that bugged me right from the moment I started the game. The sprites, as good as they are, look so blurry when compared to the rest of the game. It's unfortunate, really. It looks like they took some high-quality PNGs and decided to take some small JPEGs you stretched out to fit onto the scene. I want to see these sprites so sharp I could cut myself on them. Maybe then I could say it's something other than the story making me cry. It might just be the file types of these sprites, but you would think that it wouldn't be as much work to recreate 2D sprites in a higher quality than it would be to recreate 3D models. Another con that's connected to a pro I mentioned earlier is with the combat. In order to attack, move, or confine, you have to move your cursor over to where you want to complete that action. This sounds fine, but sometimes the cursor just doesn't know what you want. Since these are 2D characters and UI moving along a 3D plane, it can complicate a lot of things. Sometimes I didn't quite know what I was looking at and I ended up attacking an already dead enemy that was right next to a still living one. Which brings me to another point. When someone dies, unless they're going to leave behind an item or something that can be confined to, they should just disappear. It only makes the battlefield more cumbersome to navigate when you have several bodies lying around each other. Finally, I need to mention something that I feel will turn some people away, and that's the grind. I don't usually mention the grind in a PvC mini review because this is usually after my first 5 to 10 hours of playtime. That should not be enough into a game where I need to grind. But Phantom Brave almost requires you to go back and recomplete stages. There were quite a few battles in the second and third chapter that I was clenching hard, not knowing if I was actually going to be able to finish them. But it's not just that grinding is required early on to get through some of these story stages, but when you go back to some of the stages you've already finished, there will be different enemies. Stronger enemies. Meaning you could be jumping into a past stage expecting to level up and breeze through it because you're already 6 stages beyond this one in the story, but you end up dying because you weren't expecting these new strong enemies. This is literally what happened to me. In the end, I am so happy to be able to finally experience a game that has slipped by me multiple times on multiple consoles. Phantom Brave is a great experience that I would highly recommend to anyone who is a fan of tactical style JRPGs and looking for something new. Yes, Phantom Brave came out in 2004, but not many tactical JRPGs have given us a similar combat style. But on top of that, this story is what will keep you glued to your Switch for hours on end. And that is the reason why I give Phantom Brave the Hermuda Triangle Remastered as part of the Prinny Presents NIS Classics Volume 1 an absolute thumbs up. I really want to know how the story of Morona and Ash continues. I am absolutely invested in these two and will likely make this my on-the-go game until I've finished it. Yes, I had some things to say about the combat, but really I didn't get too frustrated. It was usually because I was trying to move quickly through combat, but this is one to take slower and more methodically. And yes, you need to grind so you can get through the story, but I'm used to grinding as it is. I don't mind doing it to make myself stronger than the final boss when I've only made it about 10% of the way through the actual game. But seriously, if you are a fan of Disgaea, you can't pass this up. It's a tactical JRPG experience that is an absolute requirement. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching this mini review of Phantom Brave. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more. Comment with your thoughts below and let me know if you had a chance to play Phantom Brave on the PS2 back in the day. If you'd like to help support the channel and what I do here, you can join the Guild, just like these awesome people that you're seeing on screen. Right now, you can join them at the end of every single video for just $1 a month. There's other rewards and other tiers as well, so check out the links that you see on screen, and I will see you all down in the comments.